Hi, welcome to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Maria Andrea, and today I am doing something that I never thought I'd do here on BookTube. I am recording a book review. I have some guava tea to help me with the anxiety, and maybe I should talk about anxiety when it comes to reviewing books in another video. For the meantime, I'm going to stick to my notes that are on my lap, and I will be looking down to reference them from time to time so I stay on track. The book that I intend to review is titled Prime Meridian. It is a novella written by author Silvia Moreno Garcia. This author is published by JABberwocky Literary Agency, Inc. It was published in 2017. It is 99 pages long. It is only available as an ebook. The book cover design and layout are designed by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I will try to get a picture up on the screen. If I'm not able to, I apologize. I'm still learning this video thing. So what is the genre of this book, this novella? This novella is, well, let me backtrack. So there are some videos and some media that I have consumed in preparation for this video. I want to be transparent about that because I have been influenced by those media. So one is another booktube content creator channel is That's So Poe, and they published a review 3 years ago. I will link their channel below. And I listened to the Neo Nostromo episode 40. It's a podcast, and this was an interview with the author. And these two media have given me perspective. I say that because the next thing that I'm going to say is about genre. So Silvia Moreno Garcia, in the interview with the podcast Neo Nostromo, classifies this book as mundane science fiction. The channel, the content creator for the channel, That's So Poe, in their review, they classify this novella as cyberpunk literature, which I thought was fascinating. And after watching their review, I was searching cyberpunk novels to get more of a grasp as to what that looks like in literature. So I want to let you know that I did, in my research, I did find an article by Book Riot. Book Riot tends to be like a very familiar source to me. I tend to gravitate toward their content. And in their, they have an article that was published on April 6, 2023. And the title of the article is The 22 Best Cyberpunk Novels of All Time. And this article was written by Chris M. Arnon. And in that article, Chris Arnon defines cyberpunk as a narrative focused on high technology and low life. The world is ruled by massive corporations, leaving regular people to chaos. I may have adjusted that definition kind of like maybe they weren't defined in those exact terms, but essentially, like that is what I grasped from the definition. And this cyberpunk narrative came out of the drug culture and sexual revolution of the 60s and the 70s, and it gained traction in the 80s. And this book, I think the time period for this book, I definitely hear influences of like 80s culture in Mexico City, 80s, maybe a little early 90s. cultural references, but the time period for this book is near future Mexico City. It is mundane science fiction, so I do think that there are some like intertwinings between mundane science fiction, a little bit of like slight dystopian threads like woven through, and definitely elements of cyberpunk. Content warnings. This book handles themes related to grief, um, crime, being a woman, and the things that come with being a woman. I think I want to say we all know what comes with being a woman, but the fears of violence against women. And this is particularly important because violence against women is a huge problem in Mexico and Latin America at large. But I'm from Mexico, and I am aware of just the culture, like the crime, the criminal aspects, the just the unfortunate violence that women experience every day, day to day. So here's a synopsis. Amelia is a 25-year-old Mexican woman living in a futuristic near future Mexico City. Crime has become rampant, and economic disparity is grotesque. Amelia dreams of taking a flight to a colony on Mars to escape the grim reality of the times. We're focusing in this book on Mexico City, inner city, urban living. My initial rating was 3 stars, and I will revisit that rating at the end of this book review. Who would like this book? Okay, so if you need an entryway into science fiction, like science fiction light, this might be a good gateway book. It's not nerdy science fiction. It's not deep science fiction. So if you love like huge space operas, a lot of sci-fi, this is not that deeply entrenched in science fiction. This is science fiction light. Great entry novel into science fiction. I think people who don't mind unlikable characters. Amelia is not a likable person. She is very flawed, and she is very rough around the edges. She is very difficult to love. Initially, at least in my first reading experience, I felt that way. Like she's just very rough around the edges. I think I've come around on second read through. I think I find her a little bit more, well, a lot more compelling the second time around. And I've kind of worked through the initial like abrasiveness of her personality. So if you don't mind an unlikable character, a protagonist that is not easy to root for, that, rooting for them is not something that comes easy, you'll get on with this book. People who like to read about complicated families, you definitely have complicated family dynamics in this book. This book is gritty. It feels like eating a pineapple. You know that feeling when you eat a pineapple and your tongue gets scalded? This is that feeling. This is very much that feeling. Like, to me, it's just gritty like that. Like Amelia is just so rough as a character that, yeah, you run. There's a good chance that you run the risk, and there's a very good chance that you're going to get scalded. So beware. I also think that people who like film, um, like stories that include film elements, this might be a good book. So if you enjoyed Filmtastic February, this might be a good book. There are some film elements in this book. The book is structured in like a chapter, and then between chapters there is a like film plot summary. So it's as if you're reading Amelia's story, but in between you're seeing a movie playing out that is mirroring Amelia's dream world, her daydreams. So it's kind of like you're in two different realities or worlds. Like, you're in her present day, but you're also experiencing a movie that she is creating in her mind, like her escape from the grim reality that she lives in the present. So that is really interesting. So I think that people who are into film and enjoy a film element, you might enjoy having those plot summaries developing about this movie that she is creating in her mind. How am I doing? Have I interested you? Or are you bored and ready to ditch this video? If you're still with me, thank you. Let's keep going. Who wouldn't like this book? So this book is not for people who need to have or prefer to have a solid hero. There's no heroics. I mean, that may be debatable, but there's really no like classic hero, you know? Um, a redemption arc. Now, if you want to have redemption, this might not be the book for you. There may be little to no redemption. That too is debatable, but my perspective is little to none. Um, read-alikes. I don't know that there are any read-alikes that I'm aware of, but if anything that I've said sounds like a book that you've read, please let me know that book in the comments. I would love to have a read-alike to compare this to. I do want to say that Book Riot did have a whole list of cyberpunk novels that now I'm really excited to, and I really want to read. So maybe check out Book Riot. And I Googled cyberpunk novels, and this Book Riot article came out. And I said, like I said, the article was published April 6th, 2023. And the title of the article was The 22 Best Cyberpunk Novels of All Time by Chris M. Arnone. And I think that Amelia is like soulmates or like sister souls with Girl Ultra. Girl Ultra is a Mexican singer based out of Mexico City. And in the NPR article, she talks about Mexico City being haunted and why she secretly loves sad songs, sad music. But when she talked about why she secretly loves sad songs, I was like, yes, Amelia. Amelia probably likes sad songs too. I thought she was right on. That was a very good point. So if you're curious, check out Alt Latino from NPR, Girl Ultra interview. So another thought about the Girl Ultra interview is that In the Girl Ultra interview, Girl Ultra talks about why Mexico City or how Mexico City is haunted. And in this novella, there's a quote on page 77 that says, Amelia pretended they were invisible, ghosts of the city. It was a possibility. The whole metropolis was haunted. So that quote directly reminds me of the interview with Girl Ultra. So you have Silvia Moreno Garcia as an author through this character talking about the haunted energy of Mexico City. And then in real time, like a year ago, March 2023, you had Girl Ultra talking about how the haunted energy of the city influences her music and her mood. And so I thought those were interesting parallels, you know? And if I could like have a dinner party, I would want to have a dinner party with Silvia Moreno Garcia, Girl Ultra, and Amelia and talk about the haunted energy of Mexico City and sad songs and why we listen to sad songs. So, okay, so that's more on like the Girl Ultra. I want to share a passage from this book that I really loved. And I want to say, so as preface to this excerpt, Amelia had to drop out of college to take care of her mom. And she is now working odd jobs. She works gigs through a like digital app where people can book a companion. So think of it like a dating app, but it's not for dating, it's for companionship. The app is called Friender, and she will constantly get booked. Like she'll get a call from her boss asking if she's available for a gig. But Amelia is struggling. She wants more gigs and she's having a hard time getting booked. So this is what's happening behind, this is the context for this excerpt that I'm going to read. Amelia swallowed a mouthful of rage. She couldn't afford a place on her own, and so she swallowed it. Bile and resentment making her want to spit. The phone rang. She almost didn't hear it because the kids had the television on so loud, and the kitchen was smack next to the living room dining room area. It was Miguel, her broker. Friender called him that. Junior social appointment broker. Amelia thought it was a weird long title. Hey, Amelia. Now, how are you doing today? Miguel asked in that oddly chirpy tone he employed. She'd never met him in person, but Miguel always sounded like he was smiling, and his profile featured multiple shots of him grinning at different locations: the beach, a concert, an assortment of restaurants. Miguel was an extreme positive thinker. He had told her he liked to read self help books. He also took a lot of online courses. In the beginning, they bonded a bit over this since Amelia was still trying to learn German. As the months dragged by, they both grew disenchanted. Amelia simply wasn't the kind of girl who could secure many clients. There were some people who were booked solid for gigs, but most of them were very good looking. She'd heard one young woman got booked exclusively to pose for photos, the kind of candid shots where friends gathered for a social event. Nothing candid in them. Then there were others who did all right with weddings and funerals. Both of these required an ability to cry. Amelia wasn't a crybaby, and she wasn't gorgeous. Her biggest issue, though, was that she simply did not inspire friendly feelings. People did not want to meet her, and if they did not want to meet her again. Whatever warmth or spark is required to inspire a desire for human interaction was lacking in her. She wasn't compelling. So that is an excerpt. It is page 23 in the novella Prime Meridian by Silvia Moreno Garcia. My favorite line in this book is from page 91, and it says, 20 seconds after boarding the shuttle to Mars, she might indeed miss it, but she was not going to stay around because maybe she might get homesick. Amelia is constantly dreaming of going to Mars, and people in her life are telling her she shouldn't go. And the argument is, people are telling her, you're going to miss it, you're going to want to come back, you're not going to make it. And she refutes that argument time and time again with, homesickness is not a reason not to follow a dream. My feelings with this book, there's unlikable character tension. So you don't get on with Amelia. Like the excerpt said, she's not compelling, she's difficult to love. And so there's that tension that the reader might experience with her and her decision making. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. My one sentence review. The first time I read this book, I gave it 3 stars and thought my journey with the book had ended, but there were more stars on the horizon. So I made Amelia a playlist and a mixtape. The next video that you'll see from me is a tag video in which I share the mixtape that I made for Amelia. The playlist can be found on my Spotify, and I'll leave my Spotify account in the description below. How does this story resonate with me on a personal note, on a personal level? Like, we know that Amelia is not compelling. We know that she's rough around the edges. She's difficult to like. How did I find a way to get on with her? What was compelling about her life that connected with mine? So I could envision the world Amelia lived in. I was born in Mexico, in the inner city. I remember when I was a young child and we were living in an apartment and we got robbed. And coming home to an apartment that was ransacked, where crime is high, and I could imagine the setting. I could, in my head, see the apartment, feel the environment. So on that note, it connected with me because, sometimes the memories, the things that we experience in early childhood are things that just never get wiped from our slate. And I feel like some of those moments of early childhood are just so like they've had the most time in my brain. So I feel like I connected. Also, just the descriptions of like houses in Mexico City, layouts, environment, all of that was something I could relate to. I could relate to living in poverty in Mexico. When you live in poverty in Mexico, or when you live in poverty, period, anywhere in the world, you always dream of a better life. And you dream about a place where your dreams can become a reality. And my family, my mom, immigrated to the United States with my brother and I. So I could relate to a journey. I could relate to the idea of a journey, of a dream, of a journey, of a dream for a better life, of a place that is like this dream, right? So like in my experience, it was the American dream that brought me to where I am now. To Amelia, it's this constant dream of traveling to Mars, life on this red planet. And and she's constantly drawn to that dream. Now, whether or not she actually reaches her dream, I don't know. You'll have to read to find the answer to that. But a dream, that is something that I know. And so migration, immigration, travel, journey, those are all themes that fit with my lived experiences. And then also chasing dreams as a young adult. So Amelia is 25. I think in some ways this is a coming of age novel. I mean, even though she's in her mid 20s, she's still coming of age. She's still trying to find her place in the world. She feels like she has missed a lot of opportunities, and she just wants something to go right for her. And she's all about wanting to chase her dreams. And I remember being a 20 something year old and wanting to chase my dreams. And you know, as a young adult, chasing my dreams meant going out of state for college, living in London for a bit, then going to my dream school for my graduate studies, and then doing a field placement abroad. I actually did my social work field placement in Mexico. And so all of those like yearnings that she has as a 20 something year old, I could relate to because, I had some of those similar yearnings as a 20 something year old. 20 years later, I mean, now I'm in my 40s, but I haven't forgotten about those yearnings. So that connected with me. So I'm down to my reading. I'm changing the rating of this book. I think that I initially gave it 3 stars, but sometimes books need time to settle into your brain and your heart and your connection with it. And this was a book that needed time. And on second read through, I found myself just being able to connect more deeply, being able to appreciate the story, being able to appreciate the writing, the structure. I think Silvia Moreno Garcia is a fantastic author. I still want to read everything that she reads, that she writes. I want to read everything that she writes. I want to be a reader that follows her work. Hi, in editing this video, I realized I never actually said my rating. So I rate this book 5 stars on second read. I mean, it's a book I've reread. It's a book that I'm reviewing and recommending. It's a book that if I could own it, and while I was editing, I was searching for the book cover image, and I see that now there is a paperback. When I first purchased this book, I don't think there was a paperback. In previous searches, I hadn't found a paperback version, but if I were to come across a paperback version, I would like to have it on my shelves because I think it's a book that I would like to remember and maybe pick up again. It's a book that I would loan out to a friend who wanted to read it. All of those criteria fit my criteria for 5-star books. So on second read, after a year of thinking about this book and this protagonist, I've made a mixtape for the protagonist. I've made a whole playlist for the protagonist. I've been listening to music that makes me feel connected to the protagonist. So yeah, I mean, 5 stars for me as of March 2024. And I want to send a shout out to Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading because I've been trying to do this book review and publish this mixtape that I've created. And I ended up deciding to make it a tag. And that's the next video that will come into my feed here, into your feed, into my channel. And Kelly recently published a video about why do a book review. And I found that even though I'd already decided I was going to do this, that was really like encouraging. So thank you, Kelly, for that video. It spoke to me, and it's helped me to be here today with this book review. That's it. That is my book review on Prime Meridian by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Let me know in the comments, have I said anything that has made this book interesting? Do you care to pick it up? Have you read it? What did you think? I want to talk more about this book, so let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. This is my first book review, and I've been really nervous. Let me know how I did, and maybe I'll consider another one in the future. Hasta la próxima.